Can you give me a sense how much automation is going on here? How many overrides can a store manager do?
So out of the 1,600 items, store managers can override 20 items only, and 20 items are limited in certain categories.
And which categories and why?
Usually fresh goods, meaning fruit and veg, meat and poultry, because those are really hard to, they're hard to be forecasted. Fresh products are the greatest stressors in your forecasting and replenishment processes. It's really tough to improve the whole process. That's why.
Yeah. So when you're doing replenishment, you're bringing goods in to sort of fill empty spots in the store. One of the problems here in North America is inventory accuracy is really bad at the store. So I'm guessing you must have decent inventory accuracy at your stores, and I'm just wondering if you do, how you accomplish that.
We've been working with Solvoyo for the past 8 years now.
Yeah.
It's almost fully automated. On store replenishment, our number is 19.5%, and on DC purchasing it's 70%. So putting DC aside, on the store level, it's a closed loop fashion. There's no gap between planning and execution. So that gives us this freedom, it makes us to manage the whole business almost fully automated.
Right. Okay. And Asena, I would think in getting to the kind of automation they have achieved, and I'm not sure I've ever heard of anyone having a more automated fulfillment solution than A101. There's got to be cultural issues associated with that. How do you overcome letting store managers do what they want to do?
So first of all, it doesn't happen overnight, right? This whole digital transformation and automation process is a real journey. So from day one, you don't go from 0 to 99%. You have to earn their trust over time by doing things that they're not able to do, processing data that they wouldn't manually be able to process, and by showing that you're adding value through measuring and reporting the KPIs. So people, of course, in the beginning are more hesitant to go with just some numbers coming out of a system. But one of the things that we provide as part of our solution is this ongoing KPI measurement. And actually we measure KPIs like availability, stockouts, lost sales before we go live. And now we keep measuring them. And over time, when we show that the solution is adding value, when it's let to do what it's supposed to do, and of course, when it's fed with the accurate data, right, they can see that there's a value add. And in the process, you also, of course, discover the places where the solution is not doing a great job because the inputs are missing. And in those cases, we work with our customers to, develop new processes, new enhancements, new capabilities or diagnostics to identify, where the missing data is, and start developing, processes to put those into place. But as I said, it's not an overnight process. You can turn on a system. Literally, we can set up these solutions in 3 months, but you don't get to 99% automation in 3 months. That takes a little bit longer.
Right. And it sounds to me, I may be reading between the lines, right? But what you can look at is the sell-through when the manager overrides it versus the sell-through when the system is doing the replenishment. And if the system is better than the manager, you probably get more buy-in, right?
Yeah, definitely. You look at the sell-through, you look at lost sales. That's one of the things that we actually track, estimate. You look at availability, and you also, assess the trade-off. Should the store manager be crunching through numbers or actually managing the store, at the operational level to make sure that everything on the ground is going as it should. And once you've proven over time that, look guys, this is actually doing a better job in 90% of the cases, and here's a way, as Erkan said, we do have room for overrides, and we've limited that. That started with more overrides, of course, in the beginning, and that number, that allowance kept going down. You always give them a way to intervene in the case of the exception. So you train them. The cultural shift is training them to do exception management rather than going over, every single recommendation and trying to tweak them. And the other thing that needs to happen, again, to diagnose why the system is not giving the right quantities and fix the problem at the source, the data source. What is the input that needs to be improved in order to get better outputs rather than keep overriding the outputs?
So perhaps either Erkan or Asena, you could give me an example of fixing that data source, why you would be getting a wrong number out of the system. What would be an example of the bad data going in leading to bad results coming out?
Promotions data. The national promotions, they can be more planned, but they're always at the store level. There might be local promotions or special events, local events that are going on, right? So there could, with the 10,000 stores, you can imagine there are a lot of different, geographical dynamics going on at the same time. And there can be some regional or local or just that neighborhood specific events that are happening that are driving the peaks in demand. And if we don't know about those, we would forecast as business as usual, and then they have to go and, bump up the forecasts, which means actually they're just bumping up the replenishment quantities. But what needs to happen is bumping up the forecast, knowing that there's an event happening there. So that's where, when I said, you need to establish processes, so they input when that demand peak happened. System needs to know that there was something special going on, so it doesn't just kick it out as an outlier, right? And now once you've kind of know that you can correlate that demand peak to that special event, you can strip that out of the history, so you don't keep forecasting that peak every week, and you can even get ahead by having a mechanism for them to input the future events. So if there's something that they know is going to happen in the next couple of days, in that locality, or the next week, they can input that as an event, and the system will create a forecast and replenishment quantity, knowing that there's going to be a demand peak.
That's a great example. And Erkan, you mentioned that a lot of the overrides were on fresh food. I'm guessing the data issue associated with that is spoilage, right? You just don't know, is this apple going to be good for 2 days or 3 days? Is that the issue there?
It's one of the issues. So it's really tough to improve the whole process. Fresh products are very price sensitive. Thus, day level forecasting is tough. Dynamic safety stocks are hard to predict. And above all, like you mentioned, spoilage monitoring has to be in place intact. Put them all together, you still have to reduce fresh spoilage minimum by 30% with improved replenishment, so that the whole system becomes feasible. One needs to know the dynamics of the Turkish food retail market. So A101, 10,000 stores. We are the biggest in the Turkish market, but in the discount model, there are more than 30,000 stores operating in the market. So it's very competitive. It's very there's a big price war out there. So like Asena mentioned earlier, this campaign management and how it affects the whole replenishment, it becomes even tougher to predict.
Right.